This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, I think we have established this year over year over year. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Friday, July the 10th of 2026, and we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM. And then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big.
Yep, hanging out with our friends and colleagues at Radio Big, doing all the fun stuff that we get to do. So how have you been? How has the last 24 hours been? When was the last time we hung out? I'm assuming it was 24 hours ago. I don't know. It's just a guesstimate at that particular portion. So anyways, let's start talking right away about what the hell we do around here, because that's going to be important. Our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's just kind of what we do. But here's what happens. When you show up on a Friday, it's Freeform Friday. That's what happens on Friday. So all of those lovely news stories that I never got to earlier in the week, today's the day. Yeah, that's how it works. Today's the day. So I get to play catch up with everything that's going on. So don't worry about that. I will give you all of the information that I have. Well, let me rephrase that because that's bullshit. I will give you a good chunk of the information that I have that I did not get to earlier in the week, and then we'll kind of go through it. Now, I have to tell you, I'm super excited too, because listen, we are just days away from the Reality Shifts event that's taking place on Monday here in Orlando. So listen, there's still some limited availability if you're interested in that is for sure. They already told me that I cannot change rooms again. So I just need to make sure that, we don't do anything weird. So with that being said, if you want to interact with our show, it's easy to do so. callinradio.com. If you want to find out about tickets, safetyfm.io. But calling into this, let me explain what happens. Gives you three options, and I love that most people use the text messaging option, so it's fantastic to me. But it's audio, video, and text messaging. Audio, video, and text messaging are the three options, and you just get into that system, and we go. We go. Yep, that's the whole kit and caboodle there. So, with that all being said, let's do this morning. I have the weekend review. So what does that mean? Well, we sit here for a moment and we review everything that happened this week. So that's what we're going to do first before we bring in our friends from Feature Story News. So if you're good to do all of this, we can enjoy the next 2 minutes or so in regards to what the hell happened, because that's always the thing that I'm taking a look at. So let's go ahead and do that weekend review right now.
Iran bracing for more American attacks after 2 straight nights of bombing. The ceasefire clearly broken. President Trump saying it's over. The U.S. now expanding its targets beyond military, hitting a railroad bridge in Iran that Iran quickly repaired.
In Maine tonight, the all-out scramble now to replace Graham Plattner, the Democrat, in the race for Senate. Some voters in that state sounding off, saying, did we give up our chance to beat Susan Collins in a race that could determine who controls the Senate?
Questions swirling around Senator Mitch McConnell. He was last seen on Capitol Hill 28 days ago, and then he was checked into the hospital on June 14th for an unknown medical condition. Tonight, the governor of Kentucky sending a letter to McConnell's office demanding answers about his condition.
In New York, there are new questions about what caused the beams in that Manhattan high-rise building to buckle and the floors to sink, raising serious concerns about a partial collapse. Now there's a search for answers.
Singer Bonnie Tyler, known for her hits Holding Out for a Hero and The Total Eclipse of the Heart, has died sadly at the age of 75.
At a pretrial hearing of Tyler Robinson, the 23-year-old accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. For the first time, we saw and we heard from Lance Twiggs, that's Robinson's former roommate and romantic partner. Twiggs is heard telling law enforcement in a recorded interview that he spoke to Robinson the day after the shooting and that Robinson had said he wished he, quote, hadn't done it.
It was the day American soccer fans had spent years hoping for. The U.S. men's national team were favored in a knockout round match, played on home soil against a top European team, but it was a brutal outing for the Americans last night. They fell behind early and eventually lost to Belgium by a score of 4-1.
Okay, so there you go. That's the weekend review of everything that is going on inside of there, inside of the world of the multi. That's the way that it kind of goes in regards to some of the stuff. So, yeah, a lot of things going on this week. I don't think that there's any more things going on this week than there was last week. But I always like to get this little clip for us to get it put together in regards of what the hell's going on. Because it's a fun time to hear the whole week of what's going on for sure. So, what do you think? You like it? Don't like it? Weekend review, we've been doing it for weeks now. I think it's been almost a year that we've been doing it, but it's one of my favorite segments. I'm not going to lie here, because it's just everything in one giant swoop of what the hell's going on.
Well, you made it to Friday. We asked one fan how he's going to celebrate tonight.
Okay, so partying like 1999, that's a little bit scary as we are talking. So let's do this, because I do have my friends from Feature Story News that are going, hold on, why are we not talking yet in regards to the stuff that's happening? It happens. This is what happens on Freeform Friday. It's such a passion. So if you're ready for this, we can go ahead and get into the news right now of everything that's going on in the cycle. Not that we're cycling, I'm just saying in the cycle of what's going on. So if you're good with this, I'm good with this. We can go ahead and get into this meso right now.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Shan Garg. Iran's new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has not appeared at the burial of his father, former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in Mashhad on Thursday, as Pakistan and Qatar work urgently to bring Washington and Tehran back to the negotiating table after the ceasefire collapsed. US President Donald Trump declared the truce over while attending the NATO summit in Turkey, but then appeared to soften his stance, saying he would allow negotiations to continue. The contradictory signals from the White House have left mediators uncertain about the American position.
On the one hand, you had Donald Trump declaring the ceasefire was over, but also saying that he thinks talks could continue, saying that the US should finish the job, but he doesn't want to return to all-out war. And it's hard to know if this is part of his negotiating tactic to kind of put extra pressure on Tehran, or whether it is just genuinely him being frustrated one minute and then changing his mind the next.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard has fired 10 ballistic missiles at a U.S. military base in Jordan in what it called the second phase of its response to American strikes as the ceasefire between Washington and Tehran rapidly unravels. U.S. President Donald Trump declared the truce over on Wednesday. Iran's foreign ministry has denounced overnight American strikes on some 90 targets along the Iranian coastline as a gross war crime. Jagruti Dave reports from Washington.
On the one hand, the president saying that the ceasefire is over, but he said the negotiators could continue, even though he described those negotiations as a waste of time. This mixed messaging could be a strategic ploy aimed at continuing to put pressure on the Iranians. But right now, it does look like the ceasefire is pretty much crumbling. And with that, the prospect of normalization of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Mediators at this point are also just scrambling to try to prevent any further escalations.
Wall Street has risen on Thursday, driven by a surge in semiconductor stocks after Micron Technology announced it is raising its total U.S. investment commitment to $250 billion through 2035 and poured the first concrete at what will be the largest chip manufacturing site in American history.
This is being driven by investors moving back towards semiconductor and chip stocks, and by that oil price dropping slightly despite the renewed tensions in the Middle East. If we look at which stocks in the semiconductor space are surging today, Micron, the American semiconductor company, it is up 8% this afternoon. SanDisk, which we've talked about many times in recent weeks, it's up 8.8% today. And the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, which holds 25 semiconductor stocks, it's up around 3.5% today.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, what are the prospects of the US and Cuba striking any kind of a deal over the future governance of the island? Pressure is growing as a humanitarian crisis grows across Cuba due to the significant tightening of the US economic blockade. Michael Bustamante, a leading historian of Cuban-American relations, spoke to Foreign Policy magazine.
The Cuban government has already shown a certain willingness to open their economy. They've announced reforms that, at least on paper, seem quite significant. It's on the political issues where Havana remains allergic, to put it mildly, to any kind of change. I mean, there's a deep sort of nationalist thread there that goes back decades about wanting to avoid any perception that they're ceding to the pressure of the United States. But I think one of the challenges that the Trump administration faces is that this is a government in Havana that's very used to dealing with pressure, though this pressure is unprecedented. They're very used to trying to figure out how to buy time. I mean, the Cuban government is up against the wall economically and politically. They don't have allies to the degree that they used to. No one's coming to bail them out. But the idea that there's going to be a reformer or a Delcy Rodriguez-like figure who's willing to sort of roll over on his or her superiors, that's sort of not in the DNA of a one-party state.
But President Trump wants to make something work, saying he wants to go down in history as the US president who has the honor of taking control of the island. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Iran's new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has not appeared at the burial of his father, former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in Mashhad. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has fired 10 ballistic missiles at a U.S. military base in Jordan. Wall Street has risen on Thursday, driven by a surge in semiconductor stocks after Micron Technology announced it is raising its total U.S. investment commitment to $250 billion. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story, and that is the latest Feature Story news. Ishan Garg reporting.
Prepare yourself.
We are now being distributed on iHeartRadio. Listen on iHeartRadio app. Radio Big.
Okay, let's go.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in. and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
You made it to Friday.
Thank God for that.
The day coffee becomes a victory drink instead of survival fuel.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
Okay, some self-implosion going on these airways is definitely what it sounds like based on that information over there. So let's go ahead and start talking right away about some of the things that are going on inside of the multiverse, because why would we not do that? So I have to make reference to this, because if not, I know how I am. I'm going to totally forget. Today. Besides it being National Kitten Day, but we'll leave that for a different story. Today is National Pina Colada Day. So it might be time to enjoy that. A nice little pina colada. Today's the day to enjoy it. So we need to make sure that we bring that up because that's important. There is a news story that has been making the cycles that I saw yesterday, and I wanted to bring this up. So let me see if I can start digging through all of the information that I have, because I thought it was interesting, the wording in regards of some of this right here. So take a listen to this. Are you familiar with the movie Dirty Dancing? Are you familiar with it? So there is a young lady in the movie by the name of Jennifer Grey. She's the co-star of the movie, her and Patrick Swayze, of course. She has announced that her mother, actress Jo Wilder, has died at the age of 94, just 1 week after being diagnosed with lung cancer. In an emotional tribute, Grey said that her mother chose to die on her own terms, describing her decision as one that made it with dignity and grace. Wilder was an actress before stepping away from her career to raise her family, and later became known for her Melrose boutique, Wilder Place. Grey praised her mother as a talented performer, devoted parent, lifelong activist, and someone who loved and lived and died with courage. Wilder had stage credits including for opera and The Gypsy, and TV credits including How to Marry a Millionaire. So I thought that was interesting. The wording here. She chose to die on her own terms, but it doesn't give a lot of an explanation. So let me ask you a strange question here, because I don't know and I'm trying to understand, so please bear with me. If you go to callinradio.com, can you tell me exactly in your version what does that mean? Because I am not 100% sure that I understand exactly what it means. So that is the reason I'm asking you, for you in return to be able to hang out with me and tell me what exactly the hell's going on, because I have no idea whatsoever. Okay, so let's continue talking about some other things going on inside of the multiverse of ours. President Trump has removed the 2 Democratic-appointed members of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, leaving the 4-member agency without enough commissioners to conduct official business just months before the 2026 midterm election. The White House says the president has the authority to dismiss officials who are not aligned with his goal of securing elections and ensuring every legal vote is counted. The commission, created after the disputed 2000 election, helped states by distributing federal election funding and certifying voting equipment, maintaining the national voter registration form, and providing guidance on election administration. With only vacant seats remaining after the recent resignation of an earlier departure, the agency no longer has the 3-member quorum required to approve actions. Critics say that the lack of leadership could delay funding, voting system certifications, and other support to state and local election officials ahead of the midterms. The White House points at a recent Supreme Court ruling that says that it affirms the president's authority to remove leaders of agencies previously considered independent. So what do you think? I'm just asking the question, what do you think here? It's an interesting one. That's for sure. Okay, the U.S. has reportedly been shown Israeli intelligence alleging that the new Iranian plot to assassinate President Trump, though no specific details about the alleged plan have been made public. Trump said that he believes that he is Iran's number one target and made the remarks while discussing a renewed tension with Tehran after declaring that the U.S.-Iran ceasefire effectively is over. The latest escalation follows Iranian attacks on commercial ships, the Strait of Hormuz, and subsequent U.S. airstrikes of Iranian targets. The report also notes that anti-American demonstrators during the funeral for Iran's late supreme leader, including signs of chanting threatening Trump and other U.S. officials. U.S. intelligence has previously warned that Iranian assassination threats against Trump and other former senior officers dating back to 2020, U.S. strikes that killed Iranian general back at that time. So what do you think? It's definitely getting more and more interesting as we are getting closer to election time and hearing everything that's going on and all the craziness of everything that's happening inside of the world. There is no doubt about that as we are talking. So what do you think here? Like, when you hear this information, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I always look at it and go, what the hell is going on? It definitely it gets a little crazy. There is no doubt there. Okay, so with that being said, let's continue talking about some craziness and some other things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse. So let's do this. Let's talk about this one. Mark Cuban has filed for a legal petition that could be the first step towards suing Dallas Mavericks majority owner Patrick Dumont and the Alderson family. The filing seeks information about financing and planning for the team proposed new arena, with Cuban claiming that he has been improperly excluded from the decisions despite the agreement tied to the 2023 sale of the franchise. Cuban also alleges that Dumont broke the handshake deal that would have left him in charge of the basketball operations, saying that instead the former GM Nico Harrison took control later and traded Luka Doncic, I guess. Cuban has previously said that he doesn't regret selling the Mavericks, but does regret who he sold them to. I'm just saying. So let me ask you a weird question. There is this very popular song, older song, that I know that I just kind of jump themes here, but I want to reference this, that was called My Sharona. Now, this song, My Sharona, was super popular. And there was a rumor for a period of time that radio stations were paid to play this song, allegedly, called My Sharona. And there is a band called the Dead Kennedys with a song called Pull My String. And in the live version, they say My Payola, singing it to the music of My Sharona. Now, interestingly, on how what's old is new and what's new is old, let me tell you a little story here. And here's where it gets interesting, because you are aware that we talk a little bit about everything that goes on this show. And sometimes we have to have discussion about things on networks that we're on. It's just how it goes. Sometimes there's places that we hang out that apparently things don't seem up to par, and we call them out and talk about them. But I want to bring this up. iHeartRadio has reached an agreement with the FCC to resolve an investigation into whether artists were offered more or less radio airplay based on whether they agreed to perform for free or reduced pay at iHeartRadio sponsored music festivals. Yep, I did say that out loud. The company did not admit any wrongdoing, but agreed to implement a compliance program that included a compliance officer, employee training and annual reporting, and a whistleblower hotline. The investigation began after concerns were raised about possible payola or showola practices with FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, saying that the agreement is intended to better protect artists' rights and increase transparency in the radio industry. So I want you to think about this for a moment. For the longest time, there has been rumors about certain producers, creators of music, writers, get more airplay on certain radio stations over others because of this right here. Now, isn't that interesting that this is coming up now in 2026 about this potential issue? Is it something that's truly still going on? And if you really think about it, there's not really that many writers that control popular music, and that's if you find popular music to be popular. It just gets very, very weird when you start thinking about it, that essentially, to some extent, you're just listening to the same writers, producers over and over again.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, trying to be something. Let's talk about this. A new study by the Concussion and CTE Foundation, Mass General, and Brigham and Boston University found that the former NFL players are about 4 times more likely than the general population to die of neurodivergence. Hold on. There it says neurodivergence, but I think they mean neurodegenerative disease, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, ALS, and dementia. Researchers also found that players who spent 5 or more seasons in the NFL face nearly twice the risk of dying from those diseases compared with the players whose careers lasted 4 seasons or less, adding to the growing evidence about the long-term health effects of repeated head impacts in professional football. So what do you think here? Here's where I get very, 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 very interested in things. Now, keep in mind, and I'm not picking here, that there are kids out there that their parents push and try to force to play football. It's just the reality of how it works. Let's just be realistic. And so if you are potentially putting your kid to play a game that has this kind of risk, why isn't there like some people jumping up and down about the whole thing? I am just saying. It gets very weird when you start thinking about it, because you look at it and you go, well, how weird is this? You would never want to put your kid in harm's way, but when it comes to sports, it's okay.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
I'm just saying. Anyways, take a listen to this. Artificial intelligence may have found the next calling burger chef. Researchers at Stanford University developed an AI system called Burger AI that analyzes more than 2,200 burger recipes and created new ones designed to balance the taste, nutrition, and environmental impact. In a blind taste test with more than 100 diners at San Francisco restaurants, some of the AI-created burgers matched and even beat the created McDonald's Big Mac for flavor and overall appeal. The researchers say that the AI wasn't taught how to make a Big Mac, but independently came up with a similar recipe by learning what people enjoy eating. Burger AI can also customize burgers based on person's age, activity level, and nutritional goals, while creating recipes with such much smaller environmental footprint. The team believes that its approach could eventually help design everything from healthier foods to new medicines and consumer products. Yeah, that's what I want. I want my medicine to taste like a burger. Now, let's think about this for a moment. You are aware that we talk about how there is a market for everything. There is no doubt there. But with that being said, here's the thing that I want you to think about. if this thing can make burgers based on ideas and other things that are going on, how soon will McDonald's have this inside of McDonald's University? I'm just asking the question.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so take a listen to this real quick. A father of 5 has gone viral after admitting that he threw a 13-year-old son's Nintendo Switch out the window while driving at 60 miles per hour during an argument over the teen's attitude. Joel Barbour said that he warned his son that he would do it, followed through, and later admitted that he felt both guilty and satisfied. His video sparked a flood of reactions from parents, with many sharing their own stories of a tough love discipline. It followed up with a video of Joel's son said that he learned to respect his parents, and the family revealed that they went back to retrieve the Switch, put it back together, and it still worked. Let's see. Joel says that he doesn't regret the decision and believes that following through on consequences sends an important message. Now, let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about if it's all realistic of everything that's going on. If you threw that damn thing out the window, the Nintendo Switch, at 60 miles per hour, were you on a highway? Was there other cars next to you? Because there's a lot of things that supply here in regards to some of this information. Now, keep in mind of this, because this is going to be an important one. If you're driving down the road and you throw that damn Nintendo Switch out the window, what do you think is going to happen if you hit somebody else with the thing? Like a car? Something along those lines? Don't know if that might be the best decision, regardless of how pissed off you are. When it comes to those things. Okay, so let me give you 2 more news stories before we get into some other stuff here. California restaurants are doing something kind of strange here. Some of the Northern California top restaurants, including Michelin star Merchant Roots and Bombetta, are letting diners decide what to pay during Global Pay What You Want event on August the 26th. Merchant Roots were tasting menus that cost about $238 per person, says the goal is to make dining accessible. Inspired by restaurants in Mexico City, the idea spread internationally, and Merchant Roots plans to continue offer pay what you want for dinner on the first Tuesday of every month. The concept has already proven popular, and reservations booked months ahead of time. So, yes, I'll take everything for $10 is definitely what it sounds like. Okay, so let me talk about this one real quick because I thought that this was interesting. Some Taco Bell locations have temporarily stopped serving fresh ingredients such as lettuce, cilantro, onion mix, pico de gallo, and guacamole because of a nationwide recall tied to the ongoing investigation of Ceasefire parasite outbreak. Health officials are investigating over 2,000 cases across multiple states, with Michigan reported the largest number of illness. The parasite can cause severe diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, fatigue, and other digestive symptoms. Officials have not confirmed whether any of the Taco Bell customers became sick, and the source of the outbreak is still under investigation. So there you go. Sounds like a whole poop show to me in regards to what's going on. Now, imagine that. You go to Taco Bell, as an example, and all of a sudden you have this. You think that every single nightmare scenario that you've ever heard of, joke or non-joke, of what is going on, with explosive diarrhea, you're going to go, well, maybe this is not the best place to go when it's all said and done, and this might be something you believe.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, so it is Freeform Friday, as we already have discussed. So what are we going to do here? Instead of a main story, we get some more news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Stuart Smith. Fresh explosions have been reported across southern Iran overnight, with blasts near a port city home to critical energy infrastructure for the South Pars gas field, and further strikes near a nuclear power plant. US Central Command had earlier confirmed hitting around 90 targets across Iran over 2 days of strikes, which Iran's health ministry says killed at least 14 people and wounded 78. Sally Lockwood is a reporter in Dubai.
There have been reports of a third night
of explosions in Iran centered around the south of the country, but also in the southwestern city of Bushehr, where Iran's main nuclear power plant is. Apparently there have been more explosions there, according to Iranian state media. But curiously, Washington hasn't confirmed that they are behind this third night of strikes. In fact, a US official speaking to multiple media outlets overnight said that they weren't planning a third night of attacks.
Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, did not appear at the burial of his father, former supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in Mashhad on Thursday, as Pakistan and Qatar work urgently to bring Washington and Tehran back to the negotiating table after the ceasefire collapsed. US President Donald Trump declared the truce over while attending the NATO summit in Turkey, but then appeared to soften his stance, saying he would allow negotiations to continue. The contradictory signals from the White House have left mediators uncertain about the American position. The contradictory signals from the White House have left mediators uncertain about the American position. Kate Fisher in Washington says the president is under pressure to bring the conflict under control before American voters go to the polls in November's congressional elections.
What we do know is that he wants to try and get this kind of under control by the time voters go to the polls in November. Many members of his Republican Party are up for re-election or election. He wants the Republicans to continue having control of the Senate and the House for the end of his term in office. And that will become increasingly precarious when the situation in Iran is still this precarious.
Wall Street stocks rose on Thursday, driven by a surge in semiconductor stocks after Micron Technology announced it's raising its total US investment commitment to $250 billion to 2035 and poured the first concrete at what will be the largest chip manufacturing site in American history in upstate New York. The rally in chip stocks comes as oil prices fell more than 1% despite escalating attacks in the Middle East. Mitch McCann has been crunching the day's numbers from New York.
This has been driven by investors moving back towards semiconductor and chip stocks, and by that oil price dropping slightly despite the renewed tensions in the Middle East.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, what are the prospects of the US and Cuba striking any kind of a deal over the future governance of the island? Pressure is growing as a humanitarian crisis grows across Cuba due to the significant tightening of the US economic blockade. Michael Bustamante, a leading historian of Cuban-American relations, spoke to Foreign Policy magazine.
The Cuban government has already shown a certain willingness to open their economy. They've announced reforms that, at least on paper, seem quite significant. It's on the political issues where Havana remains allergic, to put it mildly, to any kind of change. I mean, there's a deep sort of nationalist thread there that goes back decades about wanting to avoid any perception that they're ceding to the pressure of the United States. But I think one of the challenges that the Trump administration faces is that this is a government in Havana that's very used to dealing with pressure, though this pressure is unprecedented. They're very used to trying to figure out how to buy time. I mean, the Cuban government is up against the wall economically and politically. They don't have allies to the degree that they used to. No one's coming to bail them out. But the idea that there's going to be a reformer or a Delcy Rodriguez-like figure who's willing to sort of roll over on his or her superiors, that's sort of not in the DNA of a one-party state.
But President Trump wants to make something work, saying he wants to go down in history as the US president who has the honor of taking control of the island. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap the top stories, Iran's former supreme leader Ali Khamenei has been buried after a days-long marathon funeral as new strikes hit the country's energy infrastructure. A wildfire in southern Spain has killed at least 11 people, with more than a dozen missing, and the 70-metre-long, nearly 1,000-year-old Bayeux tapestry has returned to England from France in a secret overnight operation to put it on temporary display at the British Museum. That's the latest feature story news. Stuart Smith reporting.
Bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
They're good. They're very funny.
They're hilarious. They just be whoever they want to be.
It's just really funny.
Rated R Safety Show.
So, do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now? That live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/1. That's safetyfm.com/1. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
With streams so crisp that you can feel the sarcasm in your ear holes. Radio Big.
Okay, here we are on the Rated R Safety Show. 45 minutes past the top of the hour. I guess 46 at this point. This right here, little song called Parallel Love. Artist? Well, kind of hard to explain. But one of my favorites, not a doubt. Seriously. A little bit slower tempo. This lyric right here. Yep. So I would normally tell you that this song's readily available on blah, 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 blah. But it's not. So I can't tell you any of that. It lives inside of the world of the studio here. No doubt. So there you go. Yeah, I always like playing some different kind of music, but that's just my gig, so there you go. So let's start talking about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and we want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com. And click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, there'll be information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. Listen, go to that website, take a look around. It can change everything for you. I don't say that jokingly. I say that extremely seriously as we are having the discussion. It gets to the point that it can change everything for you. And I look at it from the standpoint that it's so important to have this discussion opposed to it just being one of those things where it's barely discussed. TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. Everything from this portion of self-care, stories, and how to get involved. TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. So let's continue talking about some other things going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because that is what we do around here. So here we go. Let's talk about this because it is Friday, and some people will care about this, and some people will want to know more about what is going on. So why don't we go ahead and do this? Because, hey, why not do this? Should I just do the box office and just tell you what it is? So new movies coming out today. Evil Dead. After a loss of her husband, a woman seeks solace with her in-laws as one by one transforms to deadites. She comes to discover that the vows that she took in life survive even in death. That's rated R, hitting theaters today. Also, The Invite, starring Seth Rogen and Penelope Cruz and Olivia Wilde. Joe and Angela marriage is on thin ice when they invite an energetic upstairs neighbor for a dinner party. The night spirals into an unexpected place. Rated R, hits theaters today. Also, live-action Moana, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The live-action adaptation of the 2016 Disney animated film Moana, rated PG, hitting theaters today. Also, Night Nurse, as a series of perverse scams call on settle of retirement community, a starry-eyed nurse becomes entangled with the mysterious and mysteries of her patients. Yep. That hits theaters as well today. So there you go. And then before I forget, last but not least, that is for sure, let's talk about our little event coming up Monday. Yes, Monday. Reality Shifts. Let me give you this one. Reality Shifts hits on Monday. Yep. Coming up Monday here in Orlando. Why did I just disappear? Coming up on Monday in Orlando, Reality Shifts, an observational symposium. Who will be there? Well, talking from the stage level, Nick Weatherly talking about behavior-based safety. Todd Conklin talking about human and organizational performance. We'll watch a documentary because we're in a movie theater trying to do something slightly different. And I'll be there to talk about Signal. That's all happening July the 13th. At the Aloma Cinema Grill. For more information, go to safetyfm.io or scan that little QR code that's right there on the screener. After that, boom, we'll see you there. Yep, that's what's going on. I'm excited about this, so can't wait to see you there if you're interested in showing up. And we're doing it on a Monday. That way you can hang out in Orlando over the weekend if you so desire. Anyways, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the Motivation Minute.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Jana. Paul Klee said, "Art does not reproduce the visible, it makes visible." I love that. I'm a fan of most kinds of art. Now, I have to say most kinds because there was a dude who duct taped a banana to a wall and sold it for millions. Another artist, I'm doing air quotes there, made an invisible sculpture and sold it to somebody. I'm not sure who it was, but somebody dumb enough and rich enough to buy a pretend sculpture. What is that all about? I was told that the art world is known for being a front for drugs and money laundering. They claim that they're really selling something that they can't charge you for, but they'll sell you a painting and then give you that other thing. I'm not sure how real that is, but it makes a lot more sense than paying millions for a taped up banana or paying millions for nothing at all, just an invisible piece of art to put in your real home. Weird. The Motivation Minute. This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
The International Criminal Court says it now has concrete evidence linking Rapid Support Forces commanders to war crimes committed against civilians in Sudan's Darfur region.
Deputy Prosecutor Nazat Shamim Khan called it a breakthrough in the investigation into massacres in the cities of El Fasher and El Janaina. She acknowledged justice will take time but insisted accountability will eventually follow. Lawrence Keller reporting.
Hundreds of demonstrators marched through Houston Wednesday night demanding answers after an immigration agent fatally shot a longtime construction worker during an arrest attempt.
Federal agents say Lorenzo Salgado Araujo tried to ram his van into an officer, while his family disputes that account and is demanding an independent investigation. Members of Congress joined the crowd calling for transparency. Kyle Norris reporting.
A federal task force member in Memphis shot and killed a man Wednesday while serving a drug warrant, the second fatal shooting by the unit in 4 days.
Agents forced their way into a hotel room when the man refused to open the door, and officials say he pointed a handgun at them. Tennessee is reviewing all 5 task force shootings since September. Liam White reporting.
Kentucky's governor is demanding a health update on Senator Mitch McConnell, who has been hospitalized for weeks with no official explanation from his office.
Governor Andy Beshear sent a letter Wednesday pressing McConnell's staff for details, noting the senator still chairs a key defense spending panel. McConnell plans to retire, but has not appeared publicly since mid-June. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner ended his campaign Wednesday after a woman accused him of sexual assault. leaving Democrats scrambling to find a new nominee.
Plattner denied the allegation, but lost endorsements from top Democrats before suspending his bid to challenge Republican Senator Susan Collins. State party officials now have until late July to pick his replacement on the ballot. Jessica Oakley reporting.
American forces struck Iranian air defenses and coastal targets again early Thursday, escalating a conflict that has thrown a critical global oil route into chaos.
The strikes hit Iranian air defenses and coastal posts near the Strait of Hormuz after Iran attacked oil tankers there. Shipping through the strait has nearly stopped as fears grow. The truce is collapsing. Chris Anderson reporting.
Iran laid its assassinated supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to rest Thursday at a shrine in Mashhad, capping days of massive funeral processions across the region.
Khamenei was killed in a February airstrike alongside several family members, and his burial drew millions of mourners plus foreign dignitaries. The funeral procession had already moved through Iraq's holy cities earlier in the week. Gary Beck reporting.
President Trump closed a NATO summit in Turkey by meeting Ukraine's president and announcing Washington will let Ukraine build its own Patriot air defense missiles.
The move gives Ukraine a license to build the prized missile system as it defends against ongoing Russian drone and missile barrages. Trump called the Ankara gathering a success as allies discussed the alliance's future. Benjamin Wright reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, it sounds like risky business, that is for sure, as we are hanging out. So let's start talking right away about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1962, Martin Luther King Jr. is arrested during a demonstration in Georgia. Let's see, in 1965, Rolling Stones scored their first number one hit, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. So there you go. In 1985, Coca-Cola announces that it will resume selling the old formula of Coke because they had just released new Coke.
And it didn't go well.
And in 1990, it's sad that we're talking about this, but this just tells you at the time the cultural impact that Andrew Dice Clay had. But Andrew Dice Clay cries on the Arsenio Hall show. That happened back all on this date, back at the timeline that I told you. Okay, so let's talk about some birthdays going on today. Marvis Staples turns 87. Arlie Guthrie turns 79. Neil Tennant turns 72. Gary LaCox turns 56. Sofia Vergara, she turns 54 today. And Jessica Simpson, she turns 46. So there you go. That's some birthdays that are going on today. Let's talk about some things that you ought to know. NASCAR, the Quaker State 400, available at Walmart. NASCAR race airs Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot is for $604 million. Tomorrow's Powerball jackpot is for $457 million. So there you go. What else do we got going on? Let's talk about this one. Delta Airlines pilots have launched a new website, Delta Pilots Care, to help travelers prepare for possible flight delays and cancellation during busy summer travel season. Created by Airline Pilots Association, the site offers travel tips, updates passenger rights information, and smart travelers playbook with advice for navigation of airports more smoothly. The pilots say that they understand passengers' frustration with travel disruptions and hope that the resource will help travelers be better prepared for potential problems. So there you go. That's going to end our time together at the top of the hour. I will be going over to RadioBig.fm for the next couple hours or so, talking about the world of music and entertainment. If you do not want to go over there, you're more than welcome on staying right here with Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. So there you go. Okay, if I can't leave you with some words of wisdom for today, each of us has a fire in our heart for something. It's our goal in life to find it and keep it lit. So there you go. And if you need some words of advice, surround yourself with compounders. Compounders are people who focus on compounding knowledge, health, wealth, and deep relationships over decades. These friends are hard to find, but invaluable when you do. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and/or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and/or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and/or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.
Baby,